Good morning. Um, I'm here today with Fred Reed for Fulton's 5 Minutes, and Fred's going to ask me some questions that viewers have sent in, and I will attempt to give you an answer. I think I can answer all of them, and if you have follow-ups, you can call me later.
Okay, so thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for allowing Oswego County today to come in here and talk to you and hear your mayor's minutes and deliver them to the public. Jason would like to know, I'd like to address a couple of things. The first thing being the new Taco Bell in Fulton. I think there is a lot of excitement around Taco Bell being back in Fulton, but I think a big part of that was because people thought that it meant the old Eckerd's eyesore building was going to be torn down. But it looks like it seems they are just building the Taco Bell in front of it and not tearing down. What was the plan here?
Okay, that's a good question. But to answer your question, nothing's changed. The old Eckerd is coming down. Taco Bell wanted to put the building just south to it because they plan on doing some type of drive-through. So those buildings will come down all the way to Oswego Health. Raleigh Construction was in here Friday talking to me, and this week they'll be in there with their asbestos removers, removing the asbestos around the heating unit and on the tiles on the floors and some flashing on the roof. So to answer your question, the plan hasn't changed. It's just not going as fast as people would like to see it go. But it is coming down. I certainly want it down because it is an eyesore. But thank you for the question. If you don't ask, you won't find out.
Okay, Mayor. Linda asks, I'm happy to see the spray pad will not be put in Rec Park. I was wondering why Van Buren Park wasn't chosen over the already crowded Hullet Park. Tennis courts, basketball hoops would draw people also. There's plenty of space there and even room for kids to play kickball and tag, etc. There is only one street there where Hullet, there are three.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's Hewlett Park, and I'm glad you asked. The idea of a splash park came from Councilman Patrick, who is a councilman and a council president. He comes from the 3rd Ward. He originally had chosen Rec Park because he thought it was a well-used park, but that fell through. And Hewlett Park got chosen because there are 3 streets there because people need to park. And the other reason is that it's well attended by parents, and we like that because there's a bathroom there, number one, and there'll be parents there watching children to make sure they're not in the road. Now, having said that, I was councilman in the 6th Ward for 14 years, and I still live in the 6th Ward. And through those 14 years, we spent a lot of money in Van Buren Park. We developed a ball diamond, and the backstop is still there. The city bought that and paid for it. And we even paid to run a water line by that backstop so the kids could have a drinking fountain. Back then, Fulton Junior Baseball was big. In fact, I got two baseballs for the 2 leagues that were down there that in my office still for the first games. And then on the north end of that, we developed a soccer field, and it was full of kids. But remember, Van Buren Park was a dump site. It was a big ravine, and when I was a kid, you couldn't even go by there with your car windows open because they burnt there a lot. But there was a lot of chemicals in there from a lot of the industries. Back then it was Sealrite, Armstrong, quite a few of them. Well, what happened with all these children playing down there, some of the parents got nosing around about the former dump site, and they decided to take the children out of there. They didn't want them there. They were afraid that there's something called VOX, volatile organic compounds, that they were afraid they could smell up through them. So they decided with all that money that we spent there that those kids would leave there. So we lost the baseball teams and the soccer teams for the youth down there because of that. Now, certainly that would be a consideration for me. And I've talked to the councilman about it, and he's adamant he wants good things for that park, and I agree with him. I don't blame him. But you need to be aware that that's what you're dealing with, and if you go spend the money on that, and then that issue comes up and the parents don't just decide they don't want their children exposed to that, then you'll have an issue. Now, why wouldn't that be an issue with the tennis courts? Actually, the tennis courts is above where that was, and there was no dump underneath that. And that comfort station that was there was a little ways away from them. But I know right now if you dig down in there, anywhere out in that, you'll dig up plastic, shredded plastic, you'll dig up the remnants of the landfill because it was never cleaned up. It was just, and it never was really capped off according to the way they would do it today. All it was done is topsoil and dirt just get thrown on top, and even now we had to go down and fill sinkholes in after all these years. So that's the reason. Might not be a good reason, might not be anything you want to hear, but that was a hesitancy. Now, having said that, I think the splash park will be an asset to the city, and probably the next one that goes in, if it is popular, it'll be on the west side, but that's up to the Common Council. I'm making them do resolutions on where it goes, which they did at Hewlett. And because you should have one on each side of the river. That doesn't mean there'll never be one at Van Buren, but I suggested to the councilman that maybe what we need to do down there is do core samples before you do any of that deeper digging, because you'd have to dig down quite a ways. You need more than just the depth of the pad. You got all that plumbing and under drain that got to go in there. So, and when that happens, you're going to dig up whatever was put in that landfill. I hope that answers your question. I'm sure it'll generate more.
Thank you, Mayor. The next one is from Sean. We, of course, are saddened to hear Tops closing. With the uncertainty of the store's future, is there anything we can do to prevent the boarded up gas pumps and windows similar to the gas station on the corner of Broadway and West 2nd Street? Ideally, the store will remain open under new ownership if this is not an issue. Is there any way the city can mandate that a business that closes and does not reopen in a certain amount of time, the property owners must pay to return that back to a green space?
Well, to begin with, the old gas station was on the corner of West Broadway and 1st Street. That is not boarded up. That's actually an office for used car lot. It's been there for a number of years. I can't remember when that was a gas station. So, and there's one on the east side the city owns, and Longley Brothers uses it. The gas pumps are gone, but it's not green space. It's a integral to Longley Brothers business. So, I don't know. As far as where the Tops closed, there's gas pumps there. But you need to know that Tops did not own that building, that property. They were leasing that. And I've had conversations with that owner. Of course, now he's grieving the taxes on it, and I'm sure something will go in there. Can we make him tear it down and plant grass there? I think it'd be a stretch if we did that. That would be probably the last resort. I am confident something will go in there, though.
Okay. The last one is from Valerie. Who do we as a community members go to when we don't feel that the police department are doing nearly the job they're supposed to do?
Well, yeah, and I see she had things in there about other agencies being there. Well, to begin with, you'd have to go in a little more detail why you feel that way. I don't know if you were on the other end of getting arrested or if you just see things happening that you don't think the police are taking care of. But I will tell you this, our police do a really good job. They're overworked. They get their 20 years in, they want to go. They're sick of getting beat up, and the laws are such as they are. You have to remember, the job of the police in neighborhoods where bad things are going on is to arrest. But they have nothing to do with whether or not these people go to jail. Many times they'll make an arrest, and the people that they arrest are returned right back to the streets. And that's very frustrating for them too. You'll see other agencies, the state police and sheriff in here sometimes, but you have to remember Route 481 and Broadway are state highways. Routinely, we'll see state police writing traffic tickets along these two, and other times they'll come in here and issue warrants, or there are sometimes if we issue a warrant and figure there's a bad guy, we ask for their help, but many times our police go to businesses in Granby that normally would call the sheriff's department, and if they're busy, you're covering the rest of the county, our guys will go. I mean, we've several times to Walmart, and we'll investigate and hold a person until they have time to get there. So, just why you don't think they're doing the job, I'd have to have more detail. You're welcome to call me though, but I think they're doing a good job.
That was the last question, Mayor. Is there anything you want to follow up with?
No, other than we're meeting tomorrow night on a neighborhood issue over on 2nd and Phillips with the neighbors that have had a problem over there with our police department, our police chief and an investigator, and possibly the DA's office. Because here's the thing, if there's no bail required for people, perpetrators of crimes, then they get put right back on the street. They don't go to jail. And I mean, I know it's hard when someone's having an issue with certain individuals and they keep, no matter what they do, they're still there. But that, our job as a city that runs a police department is to make sure they're arrested. That's as far as we can go. A few other things that I think I'll bring the public up to. I know that a lot of people have wondered when the rest of the Nestle site is going to get cleaned up. And I had mentioned earlier that we planned on having the majority of done this year before summer's out. We're waiting for some funding. And I've been notified from Senator Ritchie's office. We have another $200,000 available this year. We'll take that middle building down and we'll clean a lot of that mess up. That'll go a long way, so just so you know. We didn't forget it, but things don't always happen as quick as people want them to. The other thing, Menors has come along really good. They're going to own the entire block between 4th and 5th in Ontario and Erie Street. The only thing they won't own is 6 houses along Erie Street. They'll own all of the rest of that. And they are going to put in a brand new 16,000 square foot building. And they're getting the 4 houses that are really bad down there. They're taking them all down. 3 of them are down. Probably within the next 2 weeks, the last one will be down. And they also took one down on Seneca Street where we had the landlord in court. Finally turned it over to them, and they took that down because that will provide parking for their hearse business and their funeral parlor business that's on Erie Street. So that's a good thing. Also, Compass Credit Union has bought the land where the old Jaeger plumbing shop was. I've been in contact with them. They are building a brand new building next year with a drive-through. And hopefully they're going to try to get the old building down this year to make it look better. Just so people know, we talked about this stuff. And things like this move not as fast as people want, but they bought the property. That's the biggest hoop, and it's coming down. I had some more good news this week. K&N Foods, the former Birdseye, there's an outfit that runs a potato packaging cooking outfit. They're going to be sharing the buildings there at Birdseye with Birdseye, and they're going to add this year, hopefully, 35 manufacturing jobs. And if everything works out well, within the next 2 years, there'll be over 100 employees there. So good things are happening. We can't let all the bad things overshadow the positive things, but sometimes that we get individuals that tend to do that. The other thing is we, as a common council and as a city, did a lot of updates to the codes concerning landlords. Now, what we're doing is raising the standards, okay? A lot of the problems in our town, not all of them, but a good share of them come from absentee landlords. They rent to people, they don't really care who they are, they don't care what they do, as long as they get their money. But it drags down the neighborhoods, it creates a lot of police calls. I've got one guy that's going to court Wednesday. In his one apartment on Woodward Street, in a 3-month period, we had 46 police calls. And we had one over the weekend, which generated a lot of calls to me. Our police department was there. We had state police there with rifles. One of the tenants there, I called the police and said that there were 3 individuals holding a guy at gunpoint in one of the hallways, and that they were trying to steal his drugs, and when we got in there, the guy had lied. He just called, and this is one of these frequent flyers that's been in jail and keeps getting turned loose. And obviously he was on something himself, but that costs a lot of money. And he will be arrested for falsely reporting an incident, and we'll see how long he stays, if he even goes to jail. But that costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of resources that could be used for something else bad happen. So that's one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing. And us trying to do something with absent landlords is not new. A lot of people are saying, what took so long? We've been working on it. One of the reasons we're getting harder and harder now is because we've been managing their properties. We call and then they'll go take care of something. And so we're stiffening the fines. Like one individual, the New York State Code says you have to have screens. Now, any intelligent person or caring person, if you needed screens for your house, you go to a building outlet or something and buy a set of screens and install them. Their answer to the screens was buy a roll of screen and tack it to the outside of the window. No, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. That tells you what they think of this town. Now we're going to show them what we think of them. They take a lot of money out of here in rents. They need to invest. They need to fix the driveways. They need to keep the properties clean. They need to paint when they need to paint. We're not putting up with it no more. And they can explain their plight in court if they don't, And I think that's pretty much what we got right now. I'm waiting to hear word whether or not the fire department has agreed to the contract as the city has. We've got a tentative agreement right now, and then we'll be, last one is CSA will be negotiating with shortly. And that's it, I think, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a good week.
You too.